Hi, everyone, and welcome to this week's Hangout on Air. As always, my name is Jonas. I work for the Google Marketing Solutions team for the Danish market as an account manager. And once again, I'm here with Alexandra.
Yeah, hi everyone, I'm Alexandra. I work also for the Google Marketing Solutions team, but for the Belgian markets.
Amazing. So welcome back to everyone who has dialed in before, and welcome to all the new ones.
Yeah, exactly. We hope you had a great Easter weekend and that you weren't the victims of very cruel April Fool's jokes.
Oh, yeah.
We wanted to do one and not do the partners on air, Google partners on air, but then we thought it would be too cruel for you guys. So yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Amazing. So maybe some of you got to see some of the pranks that we played on.
I think we're quite famous for April Fool's jokes, and I think the one this year, the one I played with was the Where's Wally on Google Maps. I heard you didn't, so you didn't get the special Wally badge, which is like lifetime achievements type thing. So I got the badge, so I'm very happy about it. It took me about 4 hours to complete, so it was well worth it.
Nice.
So we'll see what they'll do next year. Yeah, exactly. Very productive time. Talking about productivity, let's talk about tools.
Yep. So what we thought today is, over the last few Hangout sessions we had here, what we heard is many people have been asking questions about how do we find this? Is this possible? What can we actually find? And all these things. So what we thought is we would take some time to actually go through the main tools and resources that we have externally available for all you guys in terms of everything. So in terms of exports, consumers, what is trending, what do you need to do to be best in class, and so on. So we're just going to spend today going through these tools. It's not all the tools, but at least it's many tools that we find very useful. So we're going to present all those to you. We're also going to wrap it up at the end just with a summary, so you can go back to that. And then, as always, feel free to jump in, ask questions here in the chat to the right, and we will address them at the end of the session.
Exactly. The idea is that we have tools that help you kind of understand the more macro environments in which we're dealing, and then that you also get some tools when it comes to really building campaigns and stuff you can use within accounts, and that you can use if you're really your job is to be into accounts or really to facilitate someone else's campaigns. Yeah. So let's dive into it.
Cool. So first of all, most important link today that you need to remember is thinkwithgoogle.com. Basically, this site is the hub of everything. We have consumer insights, we have marketing trends, industry data, case studies.
And localized ones, which I think is very important to know. I think usually, especially when it comes to advertising, it's easy to get cases and examples from the States and so on. But here on Think with Google, if you look for Nordics and Benelux, you can actually get these cases and these examples for our local markets, which is quite useful.
Yeah, that's a good point. So here you can find things that are maybe makes it easier for you to kind of relate to your job, or use this to leverage for clients or CMOs or whatever, in terms of actual insights that they can relate to as well.
Yeah, exactly. It gives you an idea of the scope of some of the products. Sometimes you feel like they might not be appropriate for smaller markets, but it can be in certain types of settings. So that's where you can find all of that information. So yeah.
Perfect. All right, so that's the hub, Think with Google. Many of the ones we're going to present after this are also present on Think with Google, so definitely remember this link here.
Yeah, I think that might also be worth mentioning, is that there's sometimes so much information on Think with Google that it might be difficult to navigate, so that's definitely one of the key takeaways of today. Is we want to highlight a couple of
the important ones.
Important features, yeah.
Cool. So one of the ones that I really like is the one called Market Finder. So if you go to marketfinder.thinkwithgoogle.com, you're able to find this tool. Basically, what it does is you're able to put in the URL of your website, and then it will kind of analyze that one, and it will look at how is the kind of search and keyword performance in different countries. and then you will see insights for the specific countries that are relevant to you.
Yeah.
So let's say, just as a fictive example, we say google.com/analytics. What if we were to go out with this in the world? So not just focusing on the current local market, which is obviously not the case in this one, but let's say this was your business. Then what we see is, okay, if we were to go in the US, we get a lot of insights. So we get insights in terms of how many search queries do we see within the categories that matches the URL. You can see them underneath the URL. And then you also get insights in terms of what's the average CPC. So how much can you expect to pay for a click here? And then we see other things like how easy is it to do business in this country. This is related to a lot of factors, but let's say there's a lot of things that makes it difficult to navigate in this country. Then you will see the rank of this country goes down. So then you have an idea in terms of business. And then you can also see the disposable income. So you have an idea of how wealthy is this market. So this is a great way to, and now you see like one suggestion here is the US, but underneath you will see different countries and the stats for them.
Exactly, and the idea there is that it helps you prioritize which markets may be interesting, really kind of get an idea of the market opportunity size. I think it's also interesting to look at certain of the numbers, like for example, the average CPC, that gives you a good indication of like the competitiveness when it comes to within auctions and how intense those auctions can be in certain markets. So yeah, definitely if you're trying to expand, this is like a useful data point that you can then match to your own data points, like how much does it cost for you to maybe deliver to the United States and so on. And once you get all of those data points together, it really just, the idea is that you result with like a top 3 of markets to export to. So it's a really good export tool.
Exactly.
As you mentioned.
So I think like every time you think about growth, how do you achieve growth for your business or your client's business? Exports is an obvious choice. So you can start thinking about exports. Use this as kind of a point of departure. Then you get some ideas of markets and then combine them, as Alexandra said, with your own, because it depends on the specific business. Exactly. Is it delivery fee? Is it legislation? Is it tech savviness? These kind of things. And then put them all up, just make a scorecard, and then you can kind of find out which market you should go for.
Exactly.
All right. Enough about exports. So this can also be used after you find out the export market you want to go to. It can also be used just for the existing markets. It's called ConsumerParameter. I talked about this quite a few times before. This is very good in terms of finding out what kind of devices are people using. Is mobile very popular? We always say it is. How is the mobile usage in a specific country? What's the viewing behavior? How is the purchasing path? All these things. So you can basically select a country, and then as you see here, you can select different categories, and you can just dive in. You will see statistics of tons of things. So this is very good in terms of prioritizing where you're gonna, how you're gonna tailor your marketing strategy, what kind of things you need to focus on.
Exactly. I think, as you mentioned, it's a matter of tailoring. Not all countries are equal when it comes to digital adoption. And that's why I think for me, when I go into accounts, sometimes I see everyone kind of following the same rule. For example, for all the campaigns, they will have the same device bid adjustment or something. That might be worth rethinking. If you look at different countries, they might have very different types of adoptions or just preference in usage. So that's always a good way to get a pulse. Yeah,
definitely. So go ahead and check this out. ConsumerParameter.com. That's the link for this one.
That's very cool.
Right. And then this is our tool for marketeers, I would say, mainly. So this is something that I find very useful. I think many of you will find this useful as well. So if you go to thinkwithgoogle.com, you will see a search bar at the top. So if you search here for anything, let's say you search for Easter, then you will see data points and you will see editorial. So in editorial, you can see what is like articles and blog posts and so on. But if you click on data points, you will actually see visualized data points on Easter, for example. So you will be able to say, okay, we have so and so many mobile queries in 2017 compared to 2016, and then it's visualized for you, and you can download it, and you can use it in your presentations, in your reporting, in your justification, many things here.
Exactly. It's like ready to use. And a lot of the things that we've presented in the past month, for example, when it comes to like building a case around the World Cup or something like that, that's the type of information you can find here. So I think it's a great tool if you're trying to create some urgency, or just also, again, map out the opportunity of certain seasonalities, events, queries, whatever. It's just data points which are highly relevant and easy to reproduce as well. And that's just are pertinent, people want to know about. So
you can go and you can search for a specific word. You can also just, after you do this, you can just, on the left side, there's the menu. You can kind of select, are we talking about mobile? Is that what we want to highlight? Which industry, and so on. Yeah. So go ahead and check it out. Lots of data points here as well.
Yeah, exactly. Talking about data, Google Trends might look like a very obvious choice, but I think, again, sometimes it's a tool that's a little bit underutilized and people underestimate the power of. But then again, we used it quite a lot in the past to show you some seasonalities, like we did in the last Hangouts on Air, to show you kind of the timing of the World Cup popularity. So I think this is a tool to really just use to look at these upcoming events, upcoming seasonalities. It can also be used as a comparative tool. So if you want to kind of have a sense of how your brand is holding up next to another brand, or maybe different type of product categories, which ones are more popular at what time. So again, when you're mapping out a plan or a strategy, quick check on trends to have just a sense of more timing and when to look at certain things. So that's a useful one that we still use a lot. Yeah. Talking about trending, this might also look as a very obvious one, but not always very utilized within strategies. It's just the trending tab on YouTube. So if you want to have an idea of what's buzzing when it comes to videos, I think the most useful thing here is to be used for other countries. So to give you an idea, this screenshot was taken from my own personal YouTube, which is set in Ireland, of course, because I live in Dublin. I doubt that a lot of advertisers in Belgium right now know that the talk of the town in Ireland is about the latest Gaelic football match that happened this weekend. So it's a good idea, or a good way to have an idea of what's happening, what are people talking about, what's really just kind of trending and buzzing in a particular country on a particular day. So I would just really use that to get a pulse if I'm trying to do international strategies, and kind of have a sense of what's going on in certain countries at what time.
Yeah, I think you can use this for many things. So it's kind of up to you. You can use it for like finding out relevant things in markets abroad. Yeah. You can also use it for kind of inspiration. So let's say you want to do a YouTube campaign. Maybe you want to utilize what is trending and incorporate that in your creative somehow. Maybe it even gives you a business idea. Like, how can we, if there's a certain thing that you see this is being super hyped in a country, then maybe you want to incorporate that somehow.
Exactly. Like the Skittles machine that's getting so many views in the $16 million mansion. But who knows exactly? So it's a good idea, because also it's across different type of demographies and audiences. So it's just really a good idea, or a good sense of what's really at the height of the pulse in the country. Yep. So yeah, don't underestimate trending tabs. Talking about YouTube, then we have the Leaderboard Ads, which brings us back to Think with Google again. So when you're on Think with Google, you can actually choose certain types of advertising channels or products. So here we went first to the Northern Europe region, then choose video, and then you get the YouTube Leaderboard Ads. So the Leaderboard is pretty much kind of a collection of the most, the best in class YouTube ads, if you say. How are those calculated? It's really just on a mix of views and engagement. So it's really ads that people have chosen to see. So it's not like ads that we as Google qualify as the best. It's really just what the people want, what the people liked. And you can actually also see them by by country, by year or by month, and also by format. So you can look at the best true view ads, the best bumper ads. And I think that's also, again, very inspirational if you're in the creation mode. And it's really just a good best-in-class reference to keep in mind. Yeah,
definitely.
And something to strive for. We are always very happy when we see an advertiser there. Yeah,
I think the moment you come on this leaderboard, it feels good. But obviously, if you're an agency also, and you can show your clients that hey, we're on the leaderboard, then you also you create a good kind of trust, and you show that you're really good at what you're doing, right?
Exactly.
So this is it's a nice way to get inspiration. Sometimes we have some best practices for YouTube, but obviously YouTube can be many things, depending on the industry and the company and so on. So it's good just to get inspiration.
Exactly.
Well.
And also, if you're, again, more of an agency and you're in a pitching mode and you want to show like what a good ad looks like, draw from this for sure. And as you're mentioning, we also give out prizes every year to agencies or advertisers that got on the leaderboard. So it's really a serious thing for us. So if you want to get on that, get inspired by previous winners for sure.
Right.
Then one that I actually personally found out about quite recently as well, which is the Correlate tool. So if you go to google.com trends and then correlate, this is a tool that actually gives you an idea of, so if you put in a keyword, the output will be another keyword or a set of keywords that will correlate the most to the ones that you're looking for. So basically it's looking at other search terms and keywords that have very similar search patterns, seasonalities that are looked at by the same type of people. So again, I looked for Easter here. The country is United States, but it's available globally. But if we look at this example, for example, the second most likable keyword was the Easter cross, which is kind of an obvious one, but it's a good tool if you're trying to do some keyword expansion. So within AdWords account, you can use a keyword planner, but this is like an external tool that you can also go one step further and really try to find like matching patterns between certain types of keywords. Like the example given here is they are also looking at patterns around Black Friday. So if you were to put in Black Friday, what are people mostly looking at that time? Is it TVs? Is it phones? It's maybe something that you haven't even expected. So again, it's a good opportunity spotting tool.
And do remember to select the right country here.
Absolutely.
So when you're searching, just select the right country so you get the correlation in that specific country.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that this is a great tool.
Talking about keywords, one last tool is the Answer the Public tool. It's actually not a Google one, so it's an independent platform, but it looks really cool, so that's why we're putting it up there. So if you go to answerthepublic.com and you put in a certain keyword, I know it's very small to see, but you can do the test for yourself. I put in Easter, for example, and what the tool gives you back is kind of like natural language full sentence queries based on the typical where, why, how, who ideas, and that might also again trigger ideas when it comes to keyword expansions, maybe again associations or patterns that you haven't seen before. So like we presented about Easter two weeks ago, no, a month ago now, you see that a lot here is about food, where to find certain types of food, how to cook it. But then there's also other queries that even for me were unexpected. So yeah, it's a good one to get insights on what's happening kind of today. And again, we've mentioned it before, but natural language is interesting because it's growing a lot since people are doing more and more voice searches. So if you search something through OK Google or through like an Amazon Alexa or something, people will use a natural language and not keywords. So always make sure that you have some way to anticipate these type of queries in accounts as well, maybe through dynamic search ads or just having the keywords there. But yeah, this tool is a good idea, or gives you a good sense of what you need to anticipate for.
I think what you can also use this tool for is kind of thinking full funnel. So now we talk about keyword expansion, but we also often talk about being present throughout the whole consumer journey. And here you kind of see exactly the motivation behind a query. So you will be able to find out how can I be present throughout the whole funnel. This can also be used for for understanding that, and then kind of make sure you're present along the way, even though they're not actively searching for something. Maybe they already started the journey, so be present along.
And if you combine this with, like, for example, Google Trends or something, you know when exactly you're going to have to pick up certain activities. So, like, this whole point of these tools is to mix and match and make sure that we get all the opportunities that we are out for.
So we presented a lot of tools here, and these are not the only tools we have. As you see here, there's quite a few more that we even put on the cheat sheet, like the keyword planner. We have the page speed insights that gives you insights on your mobile speed, website speed, and so on. We have a lot of different tools. I think the main takeaway here, I guess, is that find the right ones for you, for that specific situation. Mix and match, as Alexandra just said. Sometimes you want to use the market finder because you want to find export markets. You want to combine that with the consumer parameter because you want to understand that market. Sometimes you need some information for reporting. Use the data gallery. Use Google Trends. And then just find a few to begin with that works for you.
And combine it with your own data, right? To have the most relevant output possible. I think if you can manage to do that, then you're in a very sweet spot when it comes to data. So,
I think often I have clients reaching out and asking about the kind of insights we can provide. But what we want to show here is that you have so many insights at your disposal. So it's just about knowing which ones do we have and then utilizing them.
And about where to find tools, for example, this overview was something that was sent out to our partners that are registered to our newsletter. So again, good argument to make sure that everyone that needs to see this are registered to the Google Partners newsletter. A little last minute shout out to the newsletter. All right.
Cool. So any questions? I don't see any questions now, but we'll just give a... Then I just expect that everything is super clear. So that's amazing.
That was I think it might be that a lot of people are on Easter holidays as well.
Could be.
But
definitely, hopefully, all of this has been useful. Feel free to rewatch this. Just trying to understand, how can I use this? Go back, check out the tool yourself. I think that's really important. Go ahead, just explore the tool. That makes it way more valuable than us just talking about it.
Exactly.
So I think that's it. Then we'll say thank you so much, and then see you again in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much.
Bye.